Conservative new media viewers, JLin fans around the world, Charlotte Hornets fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFE, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to discuss Charlotte's 89-85 victory tonight against the Miami Heat in game number 4 of the 2016 NBA playoffs first round. With the win, Charlotte evens up the series at 2 games apiece. It's best of 7, which now means we're down to a best of 3 series, with 2 of those games coming in Miami, Florida. Well, 2 of them coming if necessary. Game 7, we don't know if that's actually going to take place yet, but we will see. If it does, it will take place in Miami, South Florida. What happened in this game? Why did Charlotte win? Charlotte won because they clamped down the defense on Miami, as they did in game number 3. They held Miami to 13 points in the second quarter, while they themselves, the Hornets, scored 29 points in that second quarter as well. 16-point gap. The margin of the game was 4 points. They really did what they needed to do in that game, and Miami just kind of, they just kind of fell apart in that quarter, and that was definitely the advantage to the Hornets. Also, for the second straight game, the Hornets won the points in the paint battle. Now, we came into this series, and Miami was the kings of the points in the paint, and Charlotte was concerned about that. But since Charlotte has gone to a bigger lineup in game number 3 and again in game number 4, they won the points in the paint both games. Also, Miami had almost twice as many turnovers as the Hornets did, 17-9. And as we are also seeing in this series, Charlotte isn't shooting the three-pointer well, and they're not shooting it a lot. So that's something we didn't expect that was going to happen in this series either. So the points in the paint and the three-point attempts and makes have kind of been flip-flopped in this series. But Charlotte was able to get stops when they needed them, particularly in that second quarter, as I mentioned, and they were able to score enough points down the stretch to kind of hold off Miami, although Miami made a big charge late, and that's why they were able to get the victory. How did Jeremy do? Jeremy was incredible in this game. I will say that this is the best playoff game he's ever had. And I'll even take it over the 21 points he had in game number 5 of the 2014 first-round series against the Portland Blazers. I think that's the game. That was in that series. He had Houston won a game, and basically Jeremy passed the ball to Troy Daniels, and Troy Daniels hit a jump shot. I think that was that game, but I'm not sure if that's true or not. However, I think Jeremy was everywhere in this game. He was absolutely critical to Charlotte winning this game. And so I'm just going to say, if JLin didn't play in this game, Charlotte would not have won. I don't remember game number 5 in the 2014 series. I don't remember the full game in my head right now. But I just think because of how important Jeremy was in this game, I'm just going to say it was his best playoff game of his career. His statistics, we'll go over them real quickly here. Actually, let me do everybody's. I'll do Jeremy's stats quick, and then I'll do everybody else's. 21 points in 34 minutes played, shot 6 of 10 from the field, including 1 of 3 from three-point range, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 3 assists, 2 steals, no rebounds, no block shots, 3 turnovers, 4 personal fouls, and his plus-minus was a plus 17, which was second best on the team to only Cody Zeller. Jeremy sparked the comeback in this game for the Hornets. In the end of the first quarter and really into the second quarter, I talked about how the second quarter was so critical. Jeremy was right in the middle of that lopsided quarter for the Hornets. He also scored 10 consecutive points for the Hornets late in the third quarter and at the start of the fourth quarter. So what happened in this game tonight for Charlotte was they really only had two guys who were on target in the game, and that's Jeremy and Kemba Walker. And I will say Courtney Lee made a couple of huge plays down the stretch of this game as well, but he wasn't as much of a scoring factor as Jeremy and Kemba. And Jeremy got it started. Miami jumped out in this game. They jumped out on Charlotte, and it was getting away from them. It was getting away from the Hornets, and Jeremy held down the fort and settled down the team and started getting things done for the Hornets. The Hornets, look, it's impressive they won this game. They only had 10 assists in this entire game, which is extremely low. 10 assists and 30 made baskets, and they still won. They won without Nick Batum. They won without Marvin Williams and Frank Kaminsky playing well. We said that was going to need to happen for the Hornets. So this was the Jeremy and Kemba show. They carried the Hornets to victory tonight, and you got to give both of them, and honestly the whole team, a lot of credit, because the rest of the team had to play defense. They had to get rebounds. But those two were the leaders, with Courtney Lee finishing it off down at the end of the game, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So we'll do some quarter by quarter. So Jeremy was kind of like the steering wheel of the car for Charlotte tonight. He was in command and in control, and he and Kemba basically took turns taking over and running the offense and scoring points, and Charlotte gritted out a very tough victory that shows really the teamwork of this group and the heart. This team has been, I said it on Twitter during the game, the team has been counted out all season long. We heard they're not going to make the playoffs, and then after Michael Kidd-Gilchrist was hurt, they're definitely not going to make the playoffs. And then Michael came back and he got hurt again. Okay, they're finished once again. They're not going to do well against Miami in the playoffs. They go down 2-0 in the series against Miami. They're done. Nick Batum gets hurt. Now they're really finished, and so forth. But here they are. They don't. It's very easy to count out the Hornets, but they're tougher, they're resilient, they're well coached, they have very good team chemistry, they play hard for one another, and I'm happy for them, because regardless of how the series plays out, it's like they finally showed people what they really are. And for them to be able to win in this circumstance against a very good team who's well coached themselves, and without Nick Batum, tells you a whole bunch about how the character of this team. And I'm thrilled for Jeremy. He's had two excellent games back to back. I mean, these are clearly the two best games. That's John calling me right now. I think he's going to make a video here soon. These are clearly the two best back-to-back games of Jeremy Lin's playoff career. 18 points in game number 3, 21 points tonight. He's never done that before, never had back-to-back 18-point games in the playoffs. So certainly excellent for him, and both of them were wins. And as I said, he was critical to this win and to the last win. Okay? So Jeremy Lin was trending tonight on Twitter. I think the reason he was trending is because he shot a three-pointer in the fourth quarter that banked off the backboard and went in, which was not what he was intending to do. And then he kind of did the little sign with his hands like, I don't know what happened. And it was very... it reminded people of when Michael Jordan did that same thing, I think, in the finals, in 1992, maybe it was, Michael hit a three-pointer, and he kind of like did the same thing. Like, I don't know what's going on. It just, I'm shooting and they're going in. So it was good. I was happy for Jeremy. It was trending, and this is right now. Honestly, this is like the pinnacle of Jeremy's career. He's in the playoffs. He's absolutely one of the reasons why the team is winning. So this is kind of the top that he's gotten to so far, and he's doing great. So it's just a great moment for him. It's a great moment for his fans, and we're going to see what happens in the next couple games. But this just shows that I think this demonstrates that this year has been a success. He's developed. He's progressed. He's clearly better. He's getting better at performing in the playoffs. His overall skills are better. He's come so far since the 2013 playoffs against the Oklahoma City Thunder. In that game, and that series, he had a very tough time. He had to guard Russell Westbrook. He was starting, and it just, from then to now, it's like night and day. It's unbelievable, and I'm just really happy for him. And also, these performances are going to make Jeremy much more sought after this upcoming summer. If Jeremy opts out of his contract, which he's likely to do, there's going to be a lot of interested people, perhaps more so than was the case last year when Jeremy was with a team in the Lakers that wasn't doing much of anything. And I think Jeremy said that he and his team of advisors there wasn't as much interest in Jeremy as they thought it was going to be. Well, after these performances, there's going to be a whole bunch of interest because people need a player like this on their team if they want to win. And as I said, this is kind of the pinnacle of Jeremy's career, but he's still not at his top level. As we talked about in the last video, he's going to get better because his shooting's going to improve. And other things will improve too, but that's a big thing that's going to improve, in my opinion, will be his three-point and long-distance perimeter shooting because he's changing his shooting form, and it really hasn't been set all year. Okay? Now, so that's the overview. Let's talk some here quarter by quarter. Let's go through it. Jeremy came into the game with 6 minutes and 31 seconds left in the first quarter. Miami was leading at that point 13-4. As I said, Miami had seized control of the game early. This was starting to look like the first two games in Miami, and actually game number 3, where Miami got out to a good start. So something needed to change, and Jeremy was going to help to make it change. He very quickly, like within 1 minute of playing time, of game time, got 2 fouls on Dwayne Wade, and that really changed things. Because I think Miami likes to run offense through Wade. And Wade is, obviously, he's a potent scorer, but he's also a good playmaker and just a good floor general. Even if he's not the one handling the ball, he can handle the ball, and he makes good decisions. Well, he gets 2 quick fouls, both of them against Jeremy, and he's got to sit down. The second one, Jeremy got free throws on. He made both of them. That made the score 13-6 to Miami. And things hadn't changed yet, but they were going to go more towards Charlotte's favor with Dwayne Wade off the court. Okay. Moving on to late into the first quarter, Jeremy was fouled once again, driving to the basket. This time it was by Amari Stoudemire. At this point in the game, it was 22-11 Miami. So no comeback had really started yet. It just was kind of neutral, although it was good to get Wade off the floor. Jeremy, 2 free throws, made both of them. That cut the lead to 22-13. Then Jeremy got his first steal of the game, I believe. I can't remember who it was against, but that was nice. And I made the note right after the steal. So he got the free throws, he got the steal, and then I put Jeremy starting to take over the game energy. Like he was starting to get the game at the pace and that he wanted. He was starting to kind of force his will on the game. We're going to play my way. And my way is we're going to play quick, and I'm going to be really active and kind of change the energy, because we had settled into Miami's just kind of coming down. They're getting threes. They're doing what they want to do. And Charlotte's just kind of, And then Jeremy, he picked up the energy considerably and gave Charlotte energy and momentum when they needed it. Okay. Then Jeremy passed the ball to Kemba Walker for a layup and a foul. I don't think it wasn't an assist. Jeremy didn't get the direct assist. I don't think he did anyway. But basically, he got the ball to Kemba in a good position, and then Kemba, took it from there and got an and one layup. And I put then made by JLin energy. So what had happened now, and it was going to happen even more in the second quarter, was the starters didn't quite have it going. They were a little bit nervous. They were playing too fast. They weren't relaxed. And Jeremy was relaxed. So he came in, and it just, like I said, the tempo of the game changed. And it got quicker, but Charlotte started playing calmer. They were too nervous or too geeked up for this game. And I would say Kemba was particularly like that, but a couple of the guys were. And then Jeremy started making plays, and he started making shots and free throws, and it's like, okay, we can settle in and calm down now. And that's also was part of the effect that Jeremy had on the energy. Okay? Then Jeremy had his first score of the game. Well, after Kemba made the layup and the free throw, 22-16. So now the comeback had started to begin. Then Jeremy got a layup and a foul himself. He went right down the middle and was, I think he finished on the right side and was fouled on the play, and he was pumped up. And I made the note, Linsanity roll. So he came in, he gets the fouls on Wade. He starts to change the energy. He starts getting his teammates calmed down. He starts getting them good shots. He's getting to the free throw line. He's getting fouls on Miami. And finally, the team and the starters started to get into the groove. They started to follow the lead. And now things began to change. So Jeremy gets the layup, hits the free throw. 24-19 Miami. Then Jeremy had his first foul of the game. He fouled Goran Dragic at the end of the first quarter, 26-19 Miami. But you could feel things were starting to turn Charlotte's way. Charlotte was getting the momentum, whereas at the start of the game, they had no momentum. And it looked like it might be a Miami blowout victory. Okay. Now, beginning of the second quarter, I put a note that says, only Lin is moving the ball. So sometimes when you're behind in a game, especially if you're nervous or you're jittery, you want to shoot, you want to do everything yourself, and you don't flow. And Jeremy had flow, and he had kind of just a good mentality. And the rest of the team still didn't have it. As I said, they only finished up with 10 assists in the entire game. So the ball wasn't moving great, but Jeremy was moving the ball well. And as I said, the rest of the team began to follow him more. Even if they weren't passing as much as they could have, at least they were taking their time on shots and not just making silly plays. Okay. Then I put that Charlotte is running high pick and roll for Lin. So they realized that Jeremy was having success now. Oh, and I should mention this, and I should have mentioned this before. Hassan Whiteside came into this game, who was the center for Miami Heat, the starting center, and the best shot blocker in the NBA this year. He came into this game with a bruised thigh, which in the old times that was known as a Charlie horse. If you ever had that type of an injury as a basketball player, it will slow you down. And sometimes you have to miss a game or two. It's like, it seems like, oh, it's a bruise to the thigh. That shouldn't do anything. But it can really affect you if it's deep. And so that, I think the effect on Whiteside was he wasn't sure if he was going to play. And it made him slower. And he couldn't jump as well. And so what that means for Charlotte is, well, if the shot blocker can't jump, go at him. He can't shot block. And so there was definitely a focus, I think, by the Hornets to get to the basket. And they want to get to the basket, period. But especially if Hassan Whiteside can't really jump, you definitely want to go at it. So at the start of the second quarter, Charlotte began to run a series of high pick-and-roll plays for Jeremy. That's obviously Jeremy's a pick-and-roll player. That's his best thing. Probably the best play for pick-and-roll players is a high pick-and-roll, because the reason why, well, for many of them anyway, a high pick-and-roll is it's way out up top, and what it does is it lets the player who's the ball handler, it lets them get momentum. They get to run into it, and they have more room to dribble and pick up speed as they go to the basket. For somebody like Jeremy, that's perfect. That's basically like, it's a really good play to run, particularly for somebody with the speed of JLin. Okay? And they wanted to run it, and they wanted to run it again and again. However, Miami knew that they wanted to run it. So they basically figured, okay, this is what they're going to run. So they really started focusing their defense on Jeremy then. Because what's happening for Charlotte now is they only have two playmakers in Kemba and Jeremy. And so with Nick Batum out, all the playmaking and a lot of the scoring comes down to Kemba and Jeremy. So then if Kemba's off the court, which he was here at the beginning of the second quarter, you can focus on Jeremy. And that's what Miami started to do. So Charlotte was trying to do the right thing, but Miami knew what they were trying to do, and it was making it more difficult for Charlotte and Jeremy to kind of score at that point in time. Okay, this is part of the chess game. This is part of the strategy. We told you in the game number 3 video, this series is going to come down to a lot of this. Who can make the better move? Who can make the best adjustment? All series come down to this to some extent. The reason why it's so important in this series is the teams are relatively evenly matched. If you have a team that's just much better than another team, the strategy doesn't matter much. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not going to win. Like Golden State against Houston, at least if Golden State's at full strength. In this series, it matters a lot because the two teams, either one of them could win. So what you do means a bunch. Okay. So early on in the second, Miami scored. That put them up 29-21. Then Jeremy had his first assist of the game. He passed the ball to Spencer Hawes for a nice layup. Then he almost lost his dribble, or he basically, I think he fell down, and one of the Miami Heat players grabbed the ball. So it was a jump ball. It was a tie-up situation. Charlotte lost the jump ball. And if you have the ball and you are tied up, if your team loses the jump ball, I believe that counts as a turnover. So I think that was Jeremy's first turnover of the game right there. Okay. Then Jeremy had his second score of the game. He dribbled into the lane, came back out, and then saw where he had an opening, and he did a reverse layup on the left side of the basket against Amari Stoudemire. That was a really nice play. That made the score 31-25. So, like I said, now they're down 6, and they're gaining momentum. Early in the first, they were down 11, and Miami had the momentum. So the energy had changed here, and Jeremy had changed it. And now all the focus was on Jeremy because Kemba's out of the game. And as I said earlier, Kemba wasn't that good early in this game. Even though he ended up having a fantastic game, he was too jittery early. And so basically this entire comeback was brought about by Jeremy's energy and kind of Jeremy settling the team down, including Kemba, to be honest with you. So, like I said, no Jeremy, no comeback, no victory, without question. There's no doubt about it tonight. Okay. Then Jeremy had his second assist of the game. He kind of handed the ball off to Cody Zeller for a nice little layup. That made the score 32-27 Miami. Then Jeremy had an assist opportunity that was not converted. Marvin Williams missed a three-pointer. As I mentioned previously, and I didn't do the stats for everybody yet, Marvin Williams and Frank Kaminsky were huge in the game number 3 victory. They were not huge tonight. And we're not taking shots at them, but it's remarkable that Charlotte could win with so few players contributing, is the way I would say it. It's basically, like I said, it was the Kemba and Jeremy show with some Courtney Lee thrown in and only 10 assists. No Marvin Williams, no Frank Kaminsky, Batum's still out, and they still won. That's it's incredible that they were able to win under those circumstances. And I'll do the stats here really quickly. For Miami, Joe Johnson 16 points, Luol Deng 15 points, Goran Dragic 12 points, Dwayne Wade 12 points. That's everybody that was in double figure scoring for them. The bench, nobody was really that great. Justice Winslow 8 points, no double figure scoring. They did use more players tonight, though, and I will talk about that later because that's something that could be important in this series as it moves forward. For the Hornets, Kemba Walker, 34 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. He did take 28 shots to get 34 points. Still, he was big. He played well, and he particularly played well down the stretch of this game. So he was critical for the win. Al Jefferson, 9 points, 5 rebounds. Marvin Williams, 0 points, 7 rebounds. Marvin, 0 for 5, so he's back to struggling again, unfortunately. Frank Kaminsky, 4 points, 4 rebounds. He was only 1 of 5 from the field. Courtney Lee, 11 points, 4 rebounds, including some huge rebounds late. Cody Zeller, 8 points, 4 rebounds off the bench. He's coming off the bench now as Al Jefferson starting in this bigger lineup that wants to attack Hassan Whiteside. So those are the main contributors tonight for the Hornets. Like I said, it was Jeremy, Kemba, and a little bit of Courtney Lee. And if you're the Hornets, you have to feel great about winning this game under those circumstances. Now you really, truly know you can compete with the Miami Heat. If you can beat Miami in this type of a circumstance, you can win. You can win this series. You really can. And so this is definitely got to be encouraging for the team. Okay? Then back to middle of the second quarter, third assist for Jeremy for a Courtney Lee timeout. This pretty much completed the comeback because now Charlotte had the lead. They were up 32-29. Miami was forced to take the timeout. There's now 7 minutes and 33 seconds left in the second quarter. And I made the note that says, Lin energy and plays bringing Charlotte back. So since Jeremy had come into the game midway through the first quarter, he got 2 fouls on Dwayne Wade. He helped keep Charlotte afloat while Miami had all the momentum. He began to change the momentum down at the end of the first quarter. And now in the middle of the second quarter, he had led the comeback all the way back. And now Charlotte had the lead. Charlotte had the momentum. The crowd was into the game, and his teammates had mostly settled in. The people that needed to settle in at least settled in. So this was all like Jeremy Lin leading this entire thing, and it was great to watch. It was really remarkable to watch. Okay, and then Courtney Lee hit a three-pointer in isolation, and I put Linsanity Energy. I put Jeremy broke the seal on the game. Whenever you can't shoot, sometimes people will say, the expression will be like, there's a lid on the basket. Just like nobody can hit anything. Well, Jeremy broke the lid for Charlotte. They were just, like I said, they were too excited. They couldn't hit a shot. And now that Jeremy had gotten them a lead, now they started to be able to shoot. And here, Courtney Lee, who is a good three-point shooter, but he's not an isolation player. He does an isolation play and hits a three, and the crowd's just going crazy. Okay? Actually, and I take it back, that tied the game. It was 32-29 for Miami. Excuse me. So now it was 32-32. Jeremy then got his second steal. Then he had an assist for a foul to Kemba. That Kemba got 2 free throws. Kemba had just come back into the game. And Frank Kaminsky had come in for Cody Zeller. Then Jeremy had his second foul. He then missed a three-pointer in transition. Like he didn't get his feet set right, basically. He didn't get his feet set where he wanted to get them set to. But then soon after, he had a kind of a swooping right scoop layup. That made the score 38-35 for Charlotte. Now they had the lead, and they had the pace and kind of the energy that Jeremy Lin wanted to bring. Jeremy said after the game, I'm just trying to bring energy, and he definitely did that. Moving on late into the second, Frank Kaminsky got an offensive rebound, and he was fouled. 2 free throws there. He made them both 40-35 Charlotte. So they're starting to build the lead. Then Jeremy was fouled in a loose ball, like a scramble for the ball. He was fouled by Hassan Whiteside. That was Whiteside's second foul. He had to sit down. So Jeremy had forced Dwayne Wade to sit down the first quarter. Now he forced Hassan Whiteside to sit down in the second quarter. That means that the rim is wide open for Charlotte to drive to the basket. That's a big effect. After he got the foul against Whiteside, after Whiteside fouled him, then Jeremy came out of the game. And I put, can Charlotte hold the lead without Lin? And the answer was yes. Because like I said, he had given the boat enough of a push, and now the boat was starting to move by itself. And so as we went into halftime, Charlotte had completed the comeback. They were now up 48-39. As we mentioned, Miami scored just 13 points in the second quarter. They're fading, they're struggling, and now Charlotte's got everything going their way. Jeremy was interviewed at halftime. I believe he was interviewed kind of going to the locker room by Rebecca Harlow of TNT Television, but I didn't get to see it. Somebody sent me a picture, and then I could see that he was, but I didn't see it. So we come out the second quarter, into the third quarter. Now Charlotte's pushing up the lead with the starters. They finally starters were feeling better now. They're moving forward. They got the lead to 57-39. So now they're leading by 18 points. Miami forced to take a timeout. Kemba's starting to roll right now, but it wasn't going to last. After that timeout, Miami began to make their run. They got the lead from 18 down to 9. Then the lead was down to just 2 points, 58-56, midway through the third period, with 6 minutes and 3 seconds left. This was the time where Jeremy Lin came back into the game, and boy, did they need him right then, because the starters began the third well, but they just couldn't hold it. And remember, they struggled at the start of the game. This was more the bench kind of getting it done, and the starters not doing quite as much. Okay. Jeremy comes in the game for Courtney Lee. Right after that, Kemba Walker scores a layup. Then Jeremy had his third miss of the game on like a little jump shot that it didn't go in. Then Jeremy got his third foul of the of the contest. Dwayne Wade did a little pump fake. Like he faked like he was going to shoot, and then Jeremy jumped into him. That's one of Wade's best moves. He's very good at a pump fake, and he gets fouls on it constantly, and everybody knows it, but they still go for the fake anyway. That gave Wade 2 free throws. That cut Charlotte's lead down to 62-61. Now, however, Kemba stepped out of the game. The lineup was then Jeremy, Courtney Lee, Marvin Williams, Frank Kaminsky, and Cody Zeller. And I really like that they went to this lineup because Kemba needed a rest, but also it made Charlotte, it had them in a better defensive position. Because what it was basically, it let Courtney Lee and Marvin Williams guard, I think, Joe Johnson and Dwayne Wade. And Jeremy was guarding Justice Winslow. So it just gave them, we've talked about how they have tall and very long-armed wings, and they're hard to deal with. So you don't want to have Jeremy necessarily have to guard those guys. And so because they brought in, they brought in Courtney Lee for Kemba, it made the defensive matchup better for Charlotte. And so I thought that was a good thing, and it paid off quickly. Cody Zeller got an offensive rebound, and he was fouled. 2 free throws. That upped Charlotte's lead. Then Cody scored again, made the game score 66-61. I put new lineup working for Charlotte. Good. I'm not going to say that Clifford took out Kemba for defense. He probably took him out to rest him, but it was definitely a better defensive strategy. And maybe Clifford is thinking he might need to do that at times in this series, where it's not always going to be you take Jeremy out. There might be times where, as much as Kemba is valued by the team, somebody's got to sit between Jeremy and Kemba so that you can have the proper defensive alignments. And in this instance, Kemba sat rather than Jeremy, and it worked. So, like I said, people have asked, well, why doesn't he sit Kemba? If he wants a tall and big lineup, sit Kemba. Well, he did sit Kemba, and it worked out. So maybe we'll see more of that as the series progresses. Again, I've nothing against Kemba. I'm not whatever. It's just, but I noticed it, and it ended up working. Then Jeremy had his 4th score of the game. This was a give and go with I think it was with I think it was with Cody Zeller. So Jeremy cut down the left side of the lane. He passed the ball to Cody. Cody gave him the ball back. Jeremy scores a layup, and he got a free throw out of it, which he made. That made the score 69-61. That's what it would be at the end of 3 quarters. I think I mentioned earlier in the video that Jeremy went on a 10-0 run himself for the Hornets, meaning Jeremy scored 10 straight points for the Hornets at the end of the 3rd quarter and at the start of the 4th quarter. Well, that was the beginning of that 10-0 run, that 3 points he got on the layup plus the free throw. So here we are at the start of the 4th quarter. I believe it was the same lineup that ended the quarter. So I don't think Kemba was back in yet, although I could be wrong about that. Yeah, I don't think he was. I think it was the same lineup here, and I want to see how it worked. Justice Winslow hit a 3-pointer. Then Jeremy came down, and he got another and one layup against Goran Dragic. He had a free throw, which he made. That put the score at 72-64 to Charlotte. So now Jeremy has scored 6 straight points. It was also the 5th foul on Dragic. He had to sit, and I don't know if he came back into this game, actually. I'm not sure if he did. If he did, it was very late, and I don't actually think that he did. So this forced Miami to start to shift their lineup some as well, and like, as I mentioned earlier, we'll talk about that. At this point in time, I believe Jeremy, because I think Dragic was replaced by Gerald Green. Gerald Green is a very tall shooting guard / small forward. He's maybe, 6'6". He's extremely athletic. He's like a great jumper, leaper. And Jeremy's had trouble with him before, guarding him, because just how athletic and tall he is. And that was going to come to play a little bit here as we continued in the game. And so what I'm trying to tell you is Gerald Green hasn't played in this series at all until tonight. But he did well tonight. And so because he gives Jeremy a little bit of problems, we might see more of Gerald Green in the rest of the series. We'll see. Okay. Then Jeremy, I think he was guarding Gerald Green. And then after Gerald Green came into the game, then Jeremy had the three-pointer that he wasn't trying to shoot it off the backboard, but it went off the backboard and it went in. He did the little hand gesture like, I don't know, which made everybody think it was like Michael Jordan. That was the 10th year. Yeah, let's see, 6, 9. No, that was the 9th consecutive point scored for Charlotte by JLin. That made the score 75-66. Then he was fouled on a reverse layup try. He got 2 free throws, made 1, missed the second. So that was the JLin 10-0 run by himself, or 10-point run for Charlotte himself, I should say. That made the score 76-67. So now Charlotte was up by 9 points, and things were looking pretty good. However, then Gerald Green came down and hit a jump shot over JLin. So this is where issues began to come up on defense for Jeremy and for the Hornets. Then they're going. Charlotte went back to running high pick and roll. They wanted to run more and more pick and roll for Lin as they did in the second quarter. Like, okay, this is going to be our offense right now, and we're just going to let Jeremy create off of it. Of course, Miami knew it was coming because Jeremy's the only playmaker in the game, and he's your best scorer for the Hornets, so they're still focusing on Jeremy. Soon after Jeremy had his second turnover of the game, what was happening with Jeremy now is he's starting to get tired. And he said this after the game. Like, he was, not only is he running the offense, he just scored 10 straight points, but Miami picks up full court, meaning that they play aggressive defense against the man bringing the ball up the court also, and that's Jeremy at this point in time. And so it was starting to wear him down. And basically the fatigue, he made a bad decision. They doubled him off of the pick and roll, and he threw the ball away. Okay. After the game was over, I was covering the interview session on Twitter, like kind of tweeting it out to people so they knew it was happening. Jeremy said that he went to Kemba, and this is probably around the time when he did, and said, basically, hey, I'm tired. Now it's your turn. Now it's time for you to take over. And this is probably, like I said, right about that time when that happened, because he just had his scoring bench. He did his thing. He's starting to get a little worn down. Now it's time for Kemba to do it. And to Kemba's credit, that's exactly what he was going to do. Okay, but this is, like I said, this is probably right around when that happened. Kemba came back into the game. So now the lineup was Kemba, Jeremy, Courtney Lee, Frank Kaminsky, Spencer Hawes. And Miami was now playing a really, really small lineup. Let me see where I wrote down what their lineup was. Basically, they were playing Udonis Haslem at center. They had, I think they had Jason Richardson at the point guard, Gerald Green at shooting guard, Justice Winslow at small forward. It may have been Joe Johnson at power forward and Udonis Haslem. Dragic was out because he had the 5 fouls, so he couldn't be in. And they went really, really, really small. Udonis Haslem's like 6'7", and he's playing center. But it started to work. And this is, again, why I think Miami might go to this lineup more in the future. And they might bring in a couple more guys like Gerald Green. Okay? Kemba missed a shot. Then Jeremy missed a shot. Miami took a timeout, and then I made a note that said this new Miami super small lineup could give Charlotte problems because not only are they small, they're athletic. So they're small, but they're still bigger than Charlotte is at some of the key positions. I think Jason Richardson's bigger than Kemba. Gerald Green is bigger than Jeremy. But Joe Johnson has bulk, even if he's not super tall, so he can get isolation baskets. Wade was going to come back in. He can get isolation baskets. So we've talked in this series about mismatches and this type of thing, and then strategies and lineups, and this little combination here that Miami used, I think we will be seeing it again, and it is something that might end up giving Charlotte some problems. So I don't think we've seen everything yet that Miami could do. That's unfortunate because if you're a Hornets fan, Miami has more possibilities than Charlotte does because they're a little deeper and they're healthy. If Charlotte had healthy Batum and healthy Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, then it's a different story. But basically, Miami has more players to work with and more combinations than Charlotte does. And so, if nothing else, they can wear Charlotte down more because they've got more guys to sub in and out. So we'll have to see what happens as things progress. Okay. Timeout ends. Miami starts to go on a run. Now, yeah, Charlotte put Marvin Williams in for Courtney Lee. They wanted a little bit more size, I think, to guard against, it might have been Joe Johnson. 76-71 Charlotte, so the lead's starting to cut down. And then Gerald Green looked like he tripped Jeremy. Jeremy fell down. Gerald Green got the ball, and he hit a three-pointer kind of over Jeremy as Jeremy had fallen down. And Gerald Green super excited. The score was down to 76-75 Charlotte. Charlotte timeout. If Jeremy hadn't yet told Kemba, look, I'm tired, you need to take over, then I'm sure he told him at this point. Because Jeremy's worn out. Not only did Jeremy scored a lot and he had to bring the ball up, but he's got to guard Gerald Green. Plus, the way that Jeremy plays is super hard. So you can wear out quicker. Some players, the way that their playing style, you get tired more quickly. And Jeremy has that kind of playing style. So whatever it was, I'm sure the communication had happened now between the two of them. Okay. And this is when Kemba started to really pick it up. He scored a couple baskets, I think, in a row. Then he hit a big three-pointer, which made the score 83-75. So basically, Charlotte went on a 7-0 run, and I think that was basically a Kemba 7-0 run. One of the things I loved about this was I really, truly believe that Kemba wanted to help Jeremy out. In other words, like, hey, he's telling me it's my time. I got to do it. In other words, I got to do it for him. And that's where the chemistry and liking your teammates comes into play. You're motivated, but it's even more motivation when you've got to do something because you need to do it for somebody else. Then you have even more motivation. I just felt like Kemba, it's like he knew he had to dig in to kind of help his teammate out. And the teammate asked for the help, and Kemba did it. So I was like, oh, man, this is awesome. And Jeremy said after the game, they're like, because a reporter asked him, what's it like watching that? He's like, it's when Kemba goes on a binge, scoring binge. He's like, it's great. I get to sit there and catch my breath. I went to him and told him I was tired and he needed to carry us home, and that's exactly what he did. So it's like, I don't know, I felt like Jeremy kind of guided him to it. And I mean, Kemba just ran with it. It was fantastic. Jeremy had his second turnover of the game. This is still middle of the fourth. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, no. Udonis Haslem got in front of Jeremy. Jeremy was trying to drive from one baseline to the other, going left to right. And Udonis, who is a good defender, got in front of him. Jeremy ran into him. That's an offensive foul, and it also counts as a turnover. Okay. Wade then got a drive and a score. That made the count 83-77 as we headed into late in the fourth. Kemba scores again. I think that was a 9-0 run for him. Joe Johnson hit a 3. Score now is 85-80 Charlotte. So Miami is making a push now. They had come back, then the Kemba burst, and now Miami, new lineup, small ball, super small ball. Who was going to win? Was Miami going to, were they going to kind of complete their own little comeback, or was Charlotte going to hold them off? That's what was basically happening now. However, at this point in time, they did put Hassan Whiteside back in, so they're back to the regular starters, which is still relatively small, but it wasn't quite the super small ball. And what they were doing now was they were going isolation basketball, which is give the ball to Joe Johnson, give the ball to Dwayne Wade, let them take their guy, post up, ISO ball, and see what happens. And it was starting to work. Wade was heating up considerably. Then Jeremy had his third and final turnover of the game, so he was definitely tired. I thought he was clearly tired. It was a very weird play, and basically Hassan Whiteside came all the way out to the sideline and was guarding JLin, and Jeremy was trying to get a foul on him. Like, he was basically dribbling towards the end line, between the sideline and the end line, like that little thing out by the three-pointer. And Hassan was staying with him, and Jeremy was basically running right into him to try to get him to foul him. But instead, they didn't call anything, and Jeremy ended up dribbling the ball out of bounds. These are the types of plays where, and I said this in the game number 3 video, sometimes you just have to make a different play if you don't think that the officials are going to give you a call. Now, I'm not saying the official shouldn't make a call. What I said in game number 3 was, if you're JLin and you're driving to the basket and you're trying to do like underhand layups and you're getting fouled, but they're not calling it, then you have to start doing something different. Like shoot a floater, shoot something that won't get blocked. But even if you are fouled, you still have a chance for it to go in. So these are little things you learn. Jeremy's fine, but just a couple of these are just, as time goes on, he'll have fewer and fewer of these types of turnovers or non-converted or no fouls or whatever you want to call it. I think there'll be less and less of them. Okay. Then I believe Miami scored again. 87-84 now for Charlotte. So this is a nail biter, and we didn't know what was going to happen. Now Jefferson got the ball down low. He missed a little turnaround hook. Miami came down. They missed a three-pointer. Then there was a play, and I know that one of the Miami beat writers, Tim Reynolds, who covers Miami for the Associated Press, he has a little picture because after Miami missed the 3, JLin and Luol Deng went up and jumped for the rebound. And the ball went out of bounds, and the referees weren't sure who it went off of. It ended up that it went off of Luol Deng. But it looks like JLin, in this picture that's circulating, it looks like JLin fouled Luol Deng. I don't think Jeremy fouled Luol Deng. It looks like it in the picture, but you will get players hitting each other or like banging bodies whenever you go for rebounds or you go for loose balls. And not all of the time that happens is it a foul. Sometimes you just bodies hit, but it didn't have an effect on what happened with the ball. So if Jeremy, quote-unquote, fouled Luol Deng, I think he fouled him after the ball was out of bounds or thereabouts, if you understand what I'm saying, or after the ball had been knocked towards out of bounds. Okay? So they did a review for a possession. They went to the little TV monitor to see who it was. It was determined it was Charlotte's ball. Charlotte came down. They missed a shot. and Courtney Lee got the offensive rebound, which was a huge play because what it did was it took time off the clock. Like, so I don't know, Charlotte came down, it was a minute and a half left. They missed. Courtney Lee, offensive rebound. Now you can run 20 more seconds off the clock, okay? Then Kemba missed a three. Miami ball. They come down. Wade drives past JLin, who Jeremy's now guarding Dwayne, or he did on that play anyway. And then he gave the ball to Hassan Whiteside. Hassan went up for the basket. He missed it, but he was fouled. Free throws. Made one, missed the second. Scores now 87-85 for Charlotte with 31 seconds left. Charlotte ball, but you only have 24 seconds on the shot clock, which means Miami's going to get another shot in this game, or you would think that they would. Charlotte comes down. They run an offensive play. Miami's defense basically blows up the play. In other words, the play is not working. Kemba Walker ends up heaving the ball from like 35 feet out, okay? Just chucks the ball up. The ball hits the front of the rim, and Courtney Lee grabs the offensive rebound with about 6 seconds left, and then he's fouled. So Courtney Lee in the last couple minutes of this game had 2 enormous offensive rebounds that if he doesn't get them, Charlotte probably doesn't win this game, okay? Courtney Lee is fouled, goes to the free throw line with 6 seconds left, makes both free throws. That makes the score 89-85. Miami takes a timeout. They come out of the timeout. Dwayne Wade takes a jump shot from the right baseline, which he misses. Charlotte rebound, game over. I mean, this was a fantastic game to watch. It was a thrilling game. I don't care who you're rooting for. I mean, I guess maybe not if you're a Miami Heat fan, but if you like playoff basketball, period, this was a terrific game to watch. I could not be more impressed with Charlotte that they won this game. I can't believe they won this game, given all of the circumstances that I've described throughout this video, including Batum being out, Marvin Williams scoring 0 points, Frank Kaminsky scoring only 4 points. This was just a remarkable win. And Charlotte, before they won Game 3, they had lost, as a franchise, they had lost like 14 straight playoff games. You know, like they've been swept in a couple series or whatever, consecutively. So they win Game 3, and now they win this Game 4. I believe that Nick Batum was questionable for this game, meaning there was some chance he might have actually played. And it's not an ankle that he sprained. He sprained his foot, which means like a ligament in the foot was actually what got hurt. Apparently, I saw a post-game interview with Nick Batum. They actually interviewed him, even though he didn't play in game number 3. And he said, the foot's a lot better. The swelling's gone down a lot. Apparently, because what happens when you get a ligament injury, when you get a sprain, which means a ligament, it usually swells up huge, like an ankle sprain. And you can't even get your foot into a shoe. So sometimes the swelling is the limiting factor. But if they can control the swelling, maybe Nick can play if he can actually get his sneakers on. He wasn't able to do that today. Maybe he can do it for game number 5. We will see. You know what? I don't even, and that would be, even if he didn't play much, like even if he starts and he plays, I don't know, 10 minutes, it still could help this team out. It would be a psychological boost. And you get to rest one of your ball handlers, Jeremy or Kemba, another 10 minutes, maybe. So that could really help this team. So I'm really happy, really proud of Charlotte that they won this game. And like I said, it was the Jeremy and Kemba show. I'm thrilled for Jeremy. And this is going to give him more options, as I said, going forward in his career as he can become a free agent this season. So it all sets up then for game number 5, which will take place 2 days from now, Wednesday, April 27th, in Miami, Florida. That game will take place at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here in the United States, and it will be shown on TNT television. Now, game number 6, there's not going to be a ton of rest now, because early in the first round, you get a bunch of rest. But as the first round progresses and teams are eliminated, like series are over, then it gets shorter. The rest between games gets shorter, because the reason why you get a lot of rest is they want to show all the games on TV, and you can't show everything at once. But then when series are over, then you don't need as much time between games because there's fewer games to show. That's what's happening here. I'm looking at the schedule right now, and essentially there's only going to be 1 day off between Game 4 and Game 5, between Game 5 and Game 6, and between Game 6 and Game 7. So Nick's not going to have a bunch of time to rest up, nor is the rest of the team. And that could favor Miami with their deeper bench. But hopefully Nick can return, and that would definitely help Charlotte's chances. So 8 p.m. Wednesday, April 27th here in the United States. That means the game will take place on Thursday, April 28th at 8 a.m. in the morning in Taipei, Taiwan, and throughout China as well. Man, this series has been thrilling. It's been exciting. You gotta love the heart and the character that Charlotte has shown. Can Charlotte win this series? Yes, they can. It's going to be difficult, though. They have to show themselves that they can win in Miami. They have to show themselves that they can play well in Miami. They just haven't played that well, especially on defense. It's, as I said earlier in the series, it usually is a case where the role players play better at home and they don't play as well on the road, which means Miami's bench is going to be better in Miami than it's going to be in Charlotte. And they're deeper, and they're starting to use a couple more players off their bench. They figured out a little bit of something with this super small ball lineup. So the deck is stacked against Charlotte. It's going to be difficult. Still, they will have confidence. They know they can compete against this team. Now they need to show themselves that they can compete at a high level in Miami. If they can do that, they can win this series. We know they can win at home. I mean, they've proven that. Now we just need to see that, and hopefully Nick Batum can be part of that. I will also say this. Charlotte has not played a great offensive game in this series yet, like one of those games where everything's going in. They haven't had a game like that yet. They haven't shot better than, let me see, I wrote this down. Charlotte has not shot better than 43% from the field in any of these 4 games. Usually you'd think you'd get a game where maybe you shoot 50%. Miami's had 2 games in the series where they shot 58%. Game 1, Game 2. If Charlotte has a game where they shoot 58%, there's a real good chance they're going to win that game. Maybe they'll have a surprise. Maybe they can come up with a game like that in Miami. Maybe that's what it's going to take. But since they haven't had one of those games yet, you know, the saying might be that they're due for a game like that. If they are due, it would be really fortunate if it happened in game number 5. And historically speaking, the team that wins game number 5 ends up winning the series a good amount of the time. It's not a done deal, but winning game 5 is definitely a big thing when the series is tied 2 games apiece. Okay, that is it for now. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you get to watch the game. If you haven't watched it, it's certainly worth watching. Just a phenomenal game all the way around. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. Thanks to Gary Chen for the artwork you're looking at right now. Gary is a member of the Jeremy Only Lin Garden fan group, which is headquartered in Taiwan. You can learn more about Gary and Jeremy Only Lin Garden by following the information for them in the video description below the video player. I will also put information for highlights of this game. You can go and check out highlights of this game. I'll try to put the full game highlights, but it takes longer to get them up in the playoffs. So if you don't see it there, just look around on NBA.com and you'll find them. Okay, I mean the link will be for NBA.com. So if I don't have the full highlights link, you can find it in time there on NBA.com. Finally, in the video description, you'll find information about joining the Conservative New Media Facebook group and how you can come and follow us on Twitter as well. I tweet during the games mostly, and when there's anything big that happens between the games, like, hey, Nick Batum's cleared to play in Game 5, I would probably put that out on a tweet. Once again, I'm PFV Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 JLin YouTube fan channel. This was just a fantastic night for JLin fans and for the Charlotte Hornets. This is, like I said, this is the pinnacle of Jeremy's career to this point in time. I think there's going to be a lot more pinnacles. This is the pinnacle right now. It could have been the pinnacle in Houston, but they were beaten in the first round, so it didn't end up coming. Jeremy's a better player now than he was in 2014. He has a bigger role on the team, and he just played the best playoff game of his career. So this is the pinnacle, and I hope you, as a JLin fan, if you are one, can enjoy it, because this is what it's all about. JLin's trending on Twitter during the NBA playoffs, and it's for a good reason, and Charlotte's winning. So we are definitely happy about that. Hope you're having a great night or great day wherever you are around the world when you're watching this video. Take care, and we'll talk to you again soon. We expect we'll be back here 48 hours from now talking about game number 5, and hopefully we'll be talking about a Charlotte Hornets victory in South Florida, Miami, down there, right there by South Beach. Take care. We'll see you then.